Well, okay. I think we figured it all out.
I
Welcome
think
everybody.
so.
Hi, hi, hi. Welcome. It's Vlad. Hi. Nice to meet you guys. Happy, what is it, Wednesday? Um Man, it's Tuesday. Jesus. Getting ahead of myself here. I am a little sick, Joppa. I feel way better today, but man, I was sick Sunday. I was sick at Dogalog yesterday, and excuse me if I like sneeze or need to blow my nose. Um, but I really want to welcome you to the 1v1 podcast. It's really an honor and a privilege to have you on and to talk Pantheon Rise of the Fallen with you, and just basically have a discussion. You know, like I've been an MMO player for the past 20 years, but my experience has mainly come from World of Warcraft. So with a lot of the older games, right, the only old MMO that I had experience with prior to World of Warcraft was Final Fantasy 11. And Final Fantasy 11 was a huge wake up call for me in terms of like, you know, grouping with other people, can't really solo by yourself. The world was extremely punishing. There was XP loss. You can de-level. A lot of these really punishing mechanics, and that wasn't that was very common, you know, without the theme in the early 2000s, late 90s, you know, kind of thing. And I never ever played EverQuest, so that was something that I never got into. I don't have a nostalgic feeling towards that game, nor have I
Mhm.
know any of the systems that come from EverQuest. So Pantheon is supposed to be like a predecessor, correct? Or like kind of like an evolution of EverQuest. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. We think of it like a spiritual successor
Okay.
and yes, an evolution, and also a bit of a fusion. But a spiritual successor to EverQuest is probably the simplest way to put it. Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess because there's been this huge, I would say, kind of outpouring from the MMO community at large for this kind of older style, choices mattering, very slowed down gameplay when it comes to, like, you know, the journey mattering. You know, you're not going to level from one to max in a single day. Um, what do you feel are like the strong points, in your opinion, when it comes to Pantheon and what it brings to the table in the current 2026 climate of MMOs?
Yeah. Great question. I'm going to try not to be long winded. People that watch me more regularly, they would say I'm never long winded ever. So
Okay.
shouldn't be a problem. But if you wanted to like jump in and like cut me off and hey, let's chat about that, please. You're not gonna mess me up by jumping in. Also,
Okay.
real quick, did you send a link to Dual Stream or Dual whatever? Because if you did, I didn't see it. I didn't
I,
know what you wanted to do on Twitch.
no, I did, but I decided not to. I just added you on
Oh
mine
yeah,
because it was
got
just
it,
my camera wasn't working on there, and you have to set it
got it,
up.
got it. Okay,
Yeah, so don't worry about it. It's fine. You're fine.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so to the question. Great question, and I think before I really answer that, and specifically in relation to Pantheon, it really has to do with we've been in a post WoW era for a really long time, you know, a
Yeah,
couple
we
decades
definitely have.
now and running. And what we found with World of Warcraft is it had such a successful model that ended up becoming embraced by just about every, you know, MMO to one degree or another. And really, I would say on the whole, very heavily influenced by the progression systems of World of Warcraft, the, you know, convenience, the accessibility, but more than anything else, I feel like a very, and this is going to sound negative, I don't really mean it negative necessarily, but it's a very on rails kind of experience where you from the very beginning you're introduced to, you know, a quest hub of sorts where you get used to kind of gathering up quests, going out, you know, being directed exactly where to go to do those quests. You do what you need to do. You come back, you turn them in, you level up, you get gear, and it's kind of this extension ladder approach where, you know, you're constantly being kind of notched up into that next rung of power, and it's guiding you through the world. You know, you don't really have to wonder where do I go next. It's always kind of showing you. And when I think when WoW came out, you know, because before that you had EverQuest, you had you know,
Ultima.
Asheron's Call, Ultima, you had all these games, yeah, that were so open ended. I think WoW came out and was really fresh in that sense, right? Where it was nice, like kind of being told where to go, what to do. You kind of had, that was what was fresh at that point. Not to mention the polish and, a lot of the other things that made it my second favorite MMO of all time. Just keep that in mind as we're talking about it. I am a fan of WoW. But I think now here in 2026, what I find a lot is we've been through that so many times. Like,
Yeah.
we have experienced that so many times that Pantheon is kind of banking on this idea that what made the MMORPG genre great in the first place was being able to go into and inhabit a world that was immersive and that actually kind of created a sense of adventure, a sense of like, I want to go out into the world and discover something. I want to feel like I'm exploring and engaging in this kind of like unbridled, unknown, unsolved world where one of the ways I've described it is it's like going on an Easter egg hunt where no matter how many eggs that you have lying around, if everybody knows there are 20 golden eggs, which eggs are you going to be really looking for and caring about? What modern MMOs do is they put this kind of through line of progression in front of you where if you don't have a quest for it, why do you care about it? If you see something interesting in the distance, but you don't have a quest for it, are you going to go and check it out? Maybe. But it's kind of built on this premise that people aren't playing MMORPGs to be immersed anymore. They're playing MMORPGs to kind of walk this line, to some form of like a game mode that they're interested in playing. And I'm being general. I don't mean to like, apply this to everything, because I know that there are some exceptions, or at least some slices of exception. But Pantheon, I think, is, any game is a risk. Anytime you make a game, it's a risk. And we're not, we don't have these visions of grandeur where we're expecting to, draw the masses. This is not about creating a WoW killer or anything like that. But it's a risk taken on the idea that if we can start getting back to the roots of what made MMORPGs the genre that they are today, the depth, the immersion, the sense of like, I want to be in a shared world with other people where I'm not necessarily kind of following that golden path. I'm just inhabiting the world and dealing with not knowing where I'm going, dealing with kind of these interactions with other players that are, I don't know, just deeper and not just kind of everybody's on their own little through path, and you're queuing up for this game mode and you're then jumping over here to this game mode, but you're not really inhabiting a world. So I could go on, I could wax on like this for a long time, but
I think with WoW, right, like when Classic or Vanilla came out, there was no add-ons for it, right? So it's like a lot of people, every time that they were confused or there was any kind of confusion present, people would ask like in trade chat or in global to be like, hey, I'm stuck on this quest. And then you would have like these human interactions with people, be like, oh, I just found out where that guy is, or, oh, I know where you need to go. And there was like a community that was built, on that. But then of course, as WoW progressed, right, people started to develop add-ons, people started to develop certain things that would help players out and basically removing the friction that the game presented. And now in 2026, no matter what friction you put as a developer, there's people like myself, content creators, there's web designers that are going to make websites like with Ashes, right? We had Ashes Codex, and that was something that, Steven and the team did not want. And there was a lot of things that I think developers want to have in isolation, but I don't think that's ever really going to happen, because there's always going to be a YouTube guide or a website to go from quest to quest or from where to go. And I feel like that's always the kind of challenge that I think is presented now in 2026 with the readability of the internet, right, at our fingertips, literally, comparatively to like the late 1990s or, the early 2000s, when the internet was very much like an infant. Now it's almost like a toddler, like maybe going into teenage years. So it's like, how do you develop a game where you want to have that sense of adventure that can get easily removed by just watching a YouTube video?
Great question. We've actually been asked, and you didn't Yeah, we've been asked this a lot. I've answered this question a lot, and it's one of my favorite ones to answer because it is one of the things that really differentiates Pantheon. So, have you ever played Guild Wars 2?
I have.
Okay. Maybe you can help me with this. In Divinity's Reach, there is a section of the city where if you go into it and you look up, there are like these, they're like brass kind of constellations up in the ceiling. And there's kind of this network of like planets and like different cool looking things. I remember, I don't remember what that's called or anything like that, but I remember being in Guild Wars 2 back in like 2013. This was before I was even working on Pantheon. Um, and I went into that area, I saw that, and I was like, this is really cool. This is amazing. And what I was saying before is what struck me is I didn't have a quest for it. I kind of happened to be in Divinity's Reach on, I was looking for something else,
Mhm.
saw it, was really struck by it, but didn't have a quest for it. So I moved on. And it was kind of the seed of like, what would it be like in an MMO? And I remember just kind of like dwelling and daydreaming on this for a while and ended up bringing it into Pantheon. What would happen if an MMO, by right of like, instead of you getting a quest first and then being told where to go and what to do, you're in the world, and as you are, you're seeing things that catch your interest, you're going to them, you're by right of like being in the presence of them, whether it's a statue, whether it's something like I described, whether it's finding an NPC along the way, or something tucked under a rock or whatever it may be, that the environment itself is kind of acting as the dungeon master, storyteller, quest giver. That's the beginning of it. And then what I want to answer your question with is the way that we're building our system in Pantheon is it's a system based on a very deep layer of like flagging. So what that means is as I start a new character and I run around the world and I'm interacting with NPCs and I'm killing NPCs and I'm looting things and I'm completing certain quests and I'm, going to this waterfall that looks interesting. I may not be having like something may not be happening in that moment. But what's happening is under the hood, my character is actually being flagged with all of these various different things that may or may not result in something happening down the road, whether it's, an extra NPC dialogue option, whether it's, some kind of extra quest that's not available to me. And you may not necessarily know how you got from point A to point M.
Right.
And so one of the ways that this is naturally kind of protected a little bit, I'm not saying that it won't, ultimately ever be fully solved, but the system in and of itself is designed to kind of be protected a little bit from what you would think of as like a typical quest guide. Because with a lot of these kind of quests, there will be some quests that are like that, more traditional, but there will be many that are based on your dialogue options, and you won't necessarily be able to redo those. Sometimes you will. But then you also won't necessarily be aware that because you went and slayed this enemy and you got this particular faction gain, that in 10 or 15 levels later when you're on another side of the world, there's actually some kind of a connection point there, and that obfuscation is already it's intended in some ways to kind of create a more immersive experience.
So, like when it comes to like, especially when it comes to like quest design, right? A lot of quests, you have to kind of talk to the NPC and read basically. And this is something that I think I've seen developers exit out of their own questing. Like, when they're talking to a person like, just accept the quest, don't even read what they. So like, I think when I see players or even just, I think it's a very unique and probably less than like 5% of players would actually read the quests. And I guess like for you developing like, because every game is kind of different, right? Like, like if you're going to play Final Fantasy 14, if you're not playing it for the story, like you're in for a rough time because very story centric. So are what you saying about Pantheon is if you're not interested in questing and have the more dynamic approach, you're probably not going to like Pantheon? Or
No, not at all, because
okay,
I'm not even talking about quest necessarily.
just the
These are, like
adventuring
I said, this can
experience?
be.
I want to make sure I'm clear because I don't want to feel like I'm confused.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no. I'm glad you're clarifying. Sometimes it can be related to quests. Sometimes,
Okay.
but the goal is not to give players a ton of things to read. The goal is much more of a dynamic experience. I don't know if you've played Pantheon enough to see some of the like we call them perception pings, these little kind of like windows that appear at the top of the screen. You get like a little audio cue. They're very terse kind of messages. They're meant to be something more like a dungeon master in a D&D campaign would kind of say to you. They're not allowed to read. It's very, they're one sentence, maybe two, but they're meant to give you enough to kind of put the pieces together of what the next step may be. Sometimes it could be in the form of, like I was saying, an extra dialogue option in dialogue that, again, is not necessarily this big, long, drawn out thing to read. Sometimes it's, triggering a spawn. Sometimes it's, we have lots of different levers and knobs that we can use. So no, I'm not saying that you need to love, reading lore and sitting through these long, tomes of reading. It's more the idea that as you're moving around the world, like, you might be given access to an area. You might be able to interpret, something that's happening based on something that a way that you've been flagged before that moment. And so it can take lots of different shapes. I'm not a big quester either, surprisingly. In the traditional sense, I'm absolutely the guy that will click accept and just get something done and click complete and get the experience and move on. But what I do want more of, going to the example of something like I know you never played EQ, but imagine you're sitting around in some of these games that you have played and you notice like a really interesting piece of artwork on the wall or a suit of armor in the corner or something in the environment that catches your interest. Even just being able to go over to it, interact with it, and get some lore, about what it is or what the crest means, or, think back to things like Resident Evil or, these games where you learn how to interact with the environment, even just to get a little sense of things. But then there are times when it's much more dynamic than that. There are times when it's connected to something much bigger, more of an overarching story. So we're building it in a way where if that even what I said doesn't interest you at all, like that's, we should, when we talk about the other aspects of Pantheon that I think are important that people probably overlook because we are classically spirited. I think there's, plenty here for people who are not as interested in that stuff, but for people that are interested in like an immersive experience, having NPCs respond to you differently, how they emote to you, what they say to you, being aware that you've gone and done this thing, or if you've had that conversation with the hermit, in the middle of nowhere, then that one villager that, flags you, like kind of calls you over and is like, hey, like, whispers are on the wind that you've, met this person. Like that kind of stuff's cool to me because it's again, it's not anything that you're expecting, but it is a product of like what you're doing in the world. And that's what we're trying to create.
Okay. Well, because I was following Ashes of Creation, right? There was always like Ashes and Pantheon kind of being developed, in my opinion, almost like side by side kind of thing. And you guys have been in development for 9 years or 8 years? How long at this point?
A little longer than that. It's been I think 12 years or close.
Okay. But I mean, y'all had some, what was like the lead guy for EverQuest ended up passing away. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean that was a huge blow. And then you guys don't have like 30 developers from what I heard. Is that true? I don't want to like
a little bit less. We've got 20, I think 22 or 23 that are on the actual like development team, people doing the work on the game. Mm-hmm. We've got a larger team outside of that, just in, other departments and whatnot, but yeah.
For sure. And so, yeah, I mean, and again, to make even a basic MMO, it takes a long time. I think people underestimate just how complex of a game an MMORPG is to make. And especially if you're trying to do, certain things that other games haven't done or things that you want to improve upon what other games have done. Right. So it's like with EverQuest seems to be like a sandbox, more of like a sandbox kind of game than more of a theme park. Correct. And I think a lot of the older MMOs were very sandboxy in nature. So I think that's why I think World of Warcraft sort of like almost paved its own road with like its theme park approach, because I don't know, did we coin the phrase theme park from World of Warcraft? I mean, as an MMO RPG player, like I feel like we did, because it's like I don't remember hearing that term until WoW sort of like paved that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that might be the case.
And so with Pantheon being like a sandbox game, do you feel like, especially now in 2026, that there's like room for a game like Pantheon? And especially now with like, because I think so personally, like I think right now the MMO genre is very much like an ancient species. Like it's almost like an endangered species at this point. We have very little of them that are thriving. The rest are either dying or dead, and we need
Mhm.
more. You know, so
Mhm.
I've never wished for MMORPGs to fail, but then we had, as of recently, New World, Amazon Game Studios completely shutting down, killing not just New World, but then there was like the Lord of the Rings MMO that they were working on, completely gone. And then, of course, Intrepid, gone. Ash is gone. Um, so, like, how do you feel like the genre is currently? And, like, what do you think Pantheon is going to do, like, once it actually comes out to, like, penetrate the market?
I mean, I think part of that is having actually having like a differentiating angle, and
Oh,
that's kind of what I was
absolutely.
getting at earlier. That there's
Yeah.
so many games that,
Or WoW
um,
clones, basically.
yeah, yeah, and so I think that's a big part of it, and I think Pantheon does that. I think Pantheon. So Pantheon is meant to be kind of a way I've described it is if you go back to the height of the EverQuest trilogy. So this is basically during Velius, the third expansion of the game, which is kind of thought of as, in some ways, kind of the pinnacle of what EverQuest was. The expansion following Velius, Shadows of Luckland, it was just a huge. There were a lot of major changes that started to take the game in a direction that a lot of people started to fall in love with it. Um, and then if you also take World of Warcraft when it first launched, like classic vanilla World of Warcraft, with a lot
Yeah.
of its polish, a lot of its accessibility, and the depth of combat, a little bit of a faster paced. Um, we're looking to create kind of a fusion between those two things. Like if we could go back to that moment in time
Mm.
and hold true to some of the things that EQ did with its social emphasis, non-instance gameplay, like shared contested world, that sense of challenge that is married to things like a very potentially very polarizing things like death penalties and stuff like that. Um, where playing EQ was just a very different experience. Um, we want to go back and say there's a third way, there's a third path. Like this could have gone in a little bit of a different direction where it stayed a little bit truer to EverQuest, a little bit truer to these classic MMOs, but still embraced a lot of what WoW brought to the table to make it so much more palatable for like a more of a modern taste.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think there is a place for that. And I think some of these differentiators that we have, we have a full form climbing system. We have a really that which is not just like you can climb in these special designated areas, but like you can literally climb anything. You can climb anything anywhere. We have plans for like some pretty cool like underwater plans. We've got the perception system that I talked about. We have a couple of other like combat related systems with mastery that's coming online in the spring. Special dispositions where NPCs can spawn with all kinds of different, not just like traits, but like behavioral like quirks and dynamics, um, just to kind of keep areas fresh. Um, and then it's again, it's a game that like it's a game predicated on we're not going to hold your hand quite as much. Um, Things like death are meant to be scary, not just you know like oh let me like that happened, but like you are actively trying to avoid death. There are places where you go in the game where you feel fear. You feel that sense of I don't know, like I would sometimes I think like how long has it been for a lot of people when they played an MMO where they've actually felt something like that, like felt something. um and I ask myself, like, we play these games and we're all here watching or listening or just generally aware because you we play MMOs and we like MMOs, but are we really feeling them anymore? And that's a lot of what we've been exploring with Pantheon is like, how do we actually invoke feeling,
Motion. Yeah.
um, emotion, a sense of like place, uh, where you're playing a game, but you're there and you're feeling the weight of like your decisions and your trepidations and various things. So I think those things to me are why I think there's room for Pantheon right now. And I think there's a whole demographic of people that I think would have loved to experience some of these classic games, and they just weren't alive. You know, because you go back and you try to play them now, and they're really clunky, they're really janky. Like
Right.
people kind of bounce off of them. And that's one of the reasons why we've embraced a lot of polish and accessibility for Pantheon, and because we want to like remove as many barriers of entry as we can for people to actually experience this kind of game. Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy Roar just told you, Joppa. He says, thanks for talking to this dude, Joppa. He is a casual and never played EQ, but I believe in you.
I played EQ maybe too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Well, and coming from someone who's never played a lot of the older MMOs, right? Like, I think especially like when I was in Ashes and, you know, in that community for a long time, I saw that, you know, through, you know, demographics of like my YouTube videos and just talking to the people in the community, like the MMO crowd is like 35 plus. Like there isn't a lot of youngins that play MMOs. Like even World of Warcraft, like World of Warcraft is still like an old man's game. Like, you know, I'm going to be 40 this year. And, you know, like mostly my analytics for YouTube is like 35 plus. I have another buddy of mine who creates YouTube content for WoW, and it's pretty much the same. So I think when it comes to, especially the old school stuff, and right now, I think there's like this almost like this disdain with how the current MMO lineup is, like whether it's like Guild Wars 2, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, ESO, BDO, people are looking for like this older style of gameplay. You think of the solo dev developer that made Dread Mists. You think of like Pantheon. You think of Project Gorgon. You think of like all these MMOs that people like have been playing. That is like a very reminiscent time of like of old, right? Like thinking of like their Ultima Online days, their EverQuest days, their Asheron's Call days, and I don't know like if we're ever going to get into a younger demographic. I don't like as much as I want the genre to succeed. I think because like, you know, me and Roar were talking about this about WoW and how WoW has been like almost like abandoned its current audience completely. Like it's the original audience that's been there to then cater to this younger audience, this kind of Disney Pixar-ish, like 15 on up, you know? And yeah, it is crazy. It feels weird, you know what I mean? But, and this is what I've always said about WoW is like, I feel like I'm in high school, but I'm 30. I shouldn't be here. Like, I feel like I'm too old to be here now, you know? And, you know, I still play WoW when it comes to like dungeons and the raids. I think the dungeons and the raids has always been WoW's bread and butter. And, you know, that was actually something that I remember the old school, like OG creators of World of Warcraft, because they used to play EverQuest. And they loved the shit out of it. But of course there were things that they didn't like, you know what I mean? They didn't like the XP loss. They didn't like the deleveling. They didn't like, you know, how the raids were or whatever, right? There was a lot of things that they always thought of like, man, wouldn't it be cool if like we made our own MMO and it had this instead of that and this and this and that. And I think that's really how WoW was born, just off of their passion for EverQuest, but wanted to go in a different direction. And with Pantheon, like, what is Pantheon doing to not just replicate
RuneScape? I'd say the same about Ultima.
Oh, definitely.
Like any of these games that still exist, you know, there are people that fire it up and play it fresh and love the crap out of it because they played it a long time when they were younger.
Right.
Anybody trying to do that today who didn't, they're gonna be like, you know,
what the heck is this?
Old school MMOs. I tried to play old school RuneScape not that long ago, and I was like, I can't. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Because I have no affinity for it.
Right.
So in that sense, we are taking great care. You know, one of the things that Pantheon it's funny to hear because people will play Pantheon for the first time and they'll come in with their expectations and whatever, and they'll play it and be like, this is like really smooth. Like it runs well. The character controller is really smooth. Like feels a lot like playing World of Warcraft in terms of the responsiveness and there's even more improvements we want to make there. We want the game to be buttery smooth and responsive. Yep. We want, you know, combat to have a lot of snap and a lot of depth. We want there to be a lot of like tactical, you know, stuff going on in group gameplay, which I I'm not sure if you're planning on continuing to play at all, but I hope that you get the chance to experience like some group play, because that's one of the places where Pantheon really comes to life, is in the challenge and kind of the tactical nature of group combat. But those things and those kind of updates are part of kind of cutting through a lot of what makes people glance off. Um, the Now repeat the question, because I lost my train of thought there for a second.
Well, so I was just basically asking, like, what is Pantheon doing to improve on the original EverQuest?
Yes.
Yeah, to make
There
it
it is.
almost like a 2.0 version. Because I think, any person who loves MMOs, right, that's want to create they're trying to create this like this updated version of like this, whether it's like a Frankenstein taking parts of this MMO, it's parts of that MMO, and putting them all together, or whether it's just like, hey, I really love, kind of like Ashes, which was basically its predecessor was Arcage. Like everything that was in Arcage, that's what Steven was pulling from. And so when it comes to EverQuest, like I'm sure there's a lot of inspiration y'all are pulling from it, but what are y'all doing to like make it feel new, but also make it feel like there's like this evolution towards it, whether it's like adding like talent trees to classes, or I don't know if the original EverQuest had talent trees, but stuff like that, right? Just making improvements where there wasn't that because they just didn't think of it, or maybe they just didn't focus on it, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, there's a lot of different answers you can give to this. I mean, some more granular than others. On a granular level, which I think MMO players would appreciate, is EverQuest. The way that they designed their classes, you had like a cleric healer in EverQuest was really the only healer that could heal well. There were two other healers, but they were much weaker in their healing in comparison, and they really couldn't hold up, in raid scenarios and in, more difficult group scenarios. Clerics were also the only class that could resurrect and restore experience that was lost. And so one of the granular answers is, we're making sure that all of our healers, for example, are designed and intended to kind of be able to do the same content, just as well as the other, just in different ways, very different play styles.
Right.
That's a granular answer. A more kind of like broader answer, aside from like some of the polish and accessibility stuff and whatnot, is we're looking at like death penalty, for example. Like we do have a death penalty in Pantheon, but it's much less severe than EverQuest was. So in Pantheon, if you die, you lose experience, you leave a corpse. In EverQuest, it was called the naked corpse run, because you would die, you would lose experience, and you would respawn wherever you were bound, which could be literally like a world away, and you were naked. Like you had no gear, you had nothing in your inventory. Like
That's
all of it
crazy.
was literally left in the corpse. It was crazy, and
Yeah, that sounds
it was
crazy.
very memorable, but it was insanely
Punishing.
intense and yeah, super punishing. And a lot of people that would play that today or experience that today would be like, a lot of people who play Pantheon even and see that it has a death penalty, they're like, I don't know. But we've changed it a little bit, where when you die in Pantheon, you respawn with all of your equipped gear. You don't leave your equipped gear on your corpse, so you have a way to actually, get back to where you died. But you do still need to get back to get your inventory and your coin, which is still, with experience loss, that's still like, whoa. It's a But
And you can
like I said,
de-level in Pantheon, can't you?
You can. Yes, you can. So I'll put it
that was my quit point in Final Fantasy 11. I quit because I was in a group and I was level 30 as a pugilist, and I de-leveled in that group from 30 to 26, and then I never played Final Fantasy 11 again. I was done. I was like, no, this is stupid. Because each level was insane to go, and I de-level 4 times. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So
that's kind of what for what it's worth, I don't know that I've ever heard of anybody de-leveling that much in EQ. I'm not sure how it was then, in that game you're talking about. I did know of a monk in EQ that de-leveled on a PvP server. They found his bind point and killed him enough times to de-level him from 55 to 50, which, if you've played EQ, anyone listening, how, I mean, that's insane. Like that's insane. But anyway, the point I want to make is this: like, take Ashes for example. Anytime that you're making an MMO and you're trying to cut against the cloth, you're trying to like do something different, new, evolved, fresh, whatever it may be, you have to have a vision and stick to it, because what you're doing differently, even if it's unpopular, really matters. And Ash is one of the things I feel like that would have made Ashes a lot more popular. For example, even more than it already was, is if they had done something a little different with their PvP. But it was Stevens, and I think, you know, generally the team's kind of conviction that like they wanted this kind of PvP embedded experience where it really was kind of woven throughout. And for a lot of people, that's kind of a deal breaker. Like, I don't want to get
Absolutely,
you know, messed with when I'm trying to PvE. In a similar way with Pantheon, like we're embracing some of these things that some people look at and say like, I don't know, you know, I don't know if I can handle that. And yet it is the thing that makes it different. And
right.
the sum of all those parts and the experience that it creates really is important. And one of the things that's been interesting for me and our team in general is like navigating this balance between, you know, obviously we want Pantheon to be a success. We want as many people to play it as possibly would or could. But you have to fight against that temptation to like blunt all of the edges, you know, because at the end of the day, and like I was saying at the very beginning, we've been down this MMORPG road so many times, and it seems like every single time one launches, we get excited about it. It's a new game. There's like this electricity, like, oh, I'm digging this. And then it's like inevitably in a day or two or a week or two, it's like, I've done this. Like, I've had these exact experiences. I've felt this exact same way. I'm leveling, I'm gearing, I'm like, and it's just the same.
Like
And
procedural
so,
by the numbers. It's just predictable, boring.
yeah,
Completely
yeah.
get it. I think there's a comfort in some people when it comes to, like, you know, here I am with a blanket on me, but I mean, there's like a comfort when it comes to knowing, like, expecting the unexpected. Like I'm expecting there to be like quests, things, and it's like this very easy going, very like kind of just stringing you along, you know, getting you in the game. And I guess like for me, and this was something like I heard you talking about, because I actually watched your stream to get the pretext before you came and watched my video, or watched my stream about me kind of like flailing and drowning in my own PlayStation. And basically just, you know, because again, I think I'm used to being very guided, you know, when it comes to an MMO experience. And when, you know, I've been playing a lot of games recently, I was playing Arcade Classic, which Arcade Classic actually had a pretty guided system. But then I played Pantheon, which wasn't really guided. I played Project Gorgon, which was not very guided. Played Quinfall, which, you know, had a pretty guided experience. But they're all different philosophies, different MMOs, different types for different people, you know, whatever the case is. But I guess my whole thing when it comes to guiding is I just think it's not good to make a person confused in the first 5 minutes of the game. Like, I understand when it comes to holding certain principles or design philosophies, you know, later, but in any game, the first thing to do to a gamer is to entice them and to lure them with good systems and good design. And it's not saying that, oh, we're purposefully missing this design because, well, every other game has it and we're trying to be different. Like, I get that, but having that confusion or that thing of like, what do I do? Like, where am I going? Like, should I be doing this? Am I doing it right or wrong? Or, you know, it's stuff like that where because I think people that aren't already knowing, right? Like the people that don't know Pantheon, hasn't watched a single live stream, doesn't really know the game too well, will go into like either like an early access or even at the launch, you know, and that's the last thing I want anyone to feel in an MMO. But I understand that if you want to give that up later on, now that there are enticed, maybe there is some investment there. Because really for a new player, there really isn't any investment in the first 5 minutes for them. They're trying to find a way to quit the game. And so I think it's always the job of the developer to get that out of their mind. Like, oh, look at our fun combat. Look how smooth it is to move around. Look how, you know, easy it is to like do this or do that or whatever. But you're going to run into friction and there's danger out there, you know, like, and maybe I'm naive in that. Like maybe I am wrong, but that's just something I've believed because I think there are games that are very heavy handed within the first 5 minutes. And that's fine. But I just think, especially because of how much of a relic MMOs are, Like, can we still pull that off? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my worry, is like, can we still do it?
Yeah. I don't know. The good news is we're not going to try to do that. we
Okay,
do
good.
have we do have a lot more planned, to kind of improve that
And I did hear
that
you talk about the
experience.
spring update, which makes me really excited, because I did hear everything you said, and I agree with you, with what you said during your stream about, like, we are going to provide certain things of, like, people, like, not the exclamation points, but we are going to have, like, little NPCs say, like, hey, adventurer, come over here, like, more natural things in the game, which is great. Any kind of direction like that, I think, is really important. But it's like one person said right now, it's like, I'd rather not have my hand held. I can use my brain. Like, I get that. I totally do. But there's some people who do want their hand held. And I think this is where I believe in the first minute you log into the game, there should be a box that says, would you like tutorials? And if you're an experienced player, you don't want your hand held, you just hit no. And now, boom, you figured everything out yourself. But I don't understand this whole mentality of, well, I don't want tutorials and I don't want to hold my hands, but I don't want you to hold anyone else's hand either. Like, who is anyone to make that recommendation? Like, if you don't want to do it, cool, you turn it off yourself. But if other people need it, let them use it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my philosophy. Like, I'd rather just have as many people experience and enjoy really designed, well-designed systems than to literally trip at the 1 yard line. And oh my God, you were literally about to experience that system that was really, really good, and you didn't play for 5 more seconds. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing that I think a lot of developers do sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the good news is some of what you experienced, and I remember watching I think enough of your stream to kind of get a good sense of what you were struggling with and kind of some of the feelings that you were having. The good news is part of what you experienced is a product of just, we're still in development. And I know that sounds crazy because we've been at this a long time, but a lot of things are slow cooked, and a lot of things, tweak and are iterated on, and kind of what we have and what we're going to be doing over the course of this year, and we're going to get more and more kind of focused and centered on it, is that new player experience. Because I agree with you completely. Like, the first 10 minutes of a game is in some ways the most important. And
Absolutely.
what I know is when we launched EA in December of 2004.
Wait, December of 2024?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, 24.
You said 04. I was like, wait, what?
22 years ago. No, sorry.
You're good.
When we launched EA in 2024, December 2024, there was a massive influx of, it totally blew our expectations. And one of the things that we heard most consistently is we heard about a map. Like, there's no map.
Very true.
And we heard a very similar sentiment, like it. And what was interesting is the people that made it through that kind of initial wall kind of fell in love with what was there. And as they kind of started understanding, and a little bit of a sense of like, oh, okay, like this is kind of how you do it, then it was like they were off. Like, okay, I love this.
Right.
What we need to do, kind of, and it's all part of that catching a lightning in a bottle, is like we need to find the right amount. And some of this is just like if you have played a Dire Lord, for example, the Dire Lord starting experience as of right now is more fleshed out than the Monk starting experience. You would have had a very different experience had you played the Dire Lord, because there is more of that, like, there are cultists right outside that, I want you to like rip their throats out and come back and, prove that you can handle this.
I'll try it tonight.
There's things like that. And that is going to continue to be improved. So the Pantheon, the 1.0 Pantheon, is going to have those very immersive kind of starting experiences that are designed not only to kind of give you a lay of the land and give you a sense of, how this game is meant to be approached, but it's also really important for immersion. It's really important for, like, who am I in this world? Like, what is my class? What, how am I seen and viewed? What relationship to the area do I have? That, I think, in light of what we have planned, versus where we are right now. That's one of the biggest weak points of Pantheon, is the kind of that new player experience and kind of how the world imprints itself on you right now, which is a big goal that we have this year to improve.
Yeah. I think the one thing that, especially coming from Ashes of Creation, like I told the developers right off rip, I was like, the first quest needs to involve combat of some kind, because if you, everyone's always like, especially a developer, to always mentioning combat, they're mentioning, the movement and like how snappy everything is. And, you have to showcase that super early to be like, wow, like even the first ability of a class needs to feel like impactful, it needs to feel meaty, it needs to feel good to hit. And then you just can't even wait to hit level 2 to see like what new ability I can get. Like, how is this going to be complemented with more, and there's a lot of games out there, like you're like level 5 and you still haven't hit a single combat button. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I think with the design of any developer, like needs to put combat in the forefront, especially because they're doing so much iteration. I mean, heck, Ash has probably had like 33 versions of iterations of combat at this point, before it went down. And, so like that's like my thing. And I didn't mind the combat in Pantheon, honestly. I didn't really care too much for the Necro. The Necro to me was a little weird to play, from a first time perspective. But I really love the Monk. I was like, the Monk is interesting. I like the fluidity of the Monk. I always love melee classes and stuff like that, but I'll try the Dial Lord too. If it's a better experience, I'll see what that's like, to see if, I can give you any, like, my feedback
I'd be really
on that.
curious to see what you think about that, because it's got definitely more of kind of what we're discussing here, and I'm curious how Pantheon would imprint on you with more of kind of the intended experience starting out. It'd be cool. Be cool to hear.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, Joppa, like, dude, I mean, with Ashes gone, like, there's a whole community of people currently wanting to belong to another community and feel passionate for an MMO. And I think with Ashes, the one thing I learned really quickly is that there's a lot of people that are really wanting an old school kind of game. And I think there is a really big opportunity, especially with the spring update, to like get those people. And with the spring update, I'm curious, is it going to have the mini map? Is it going to have like those improvements that you talked about with the like the Fatui system and like onboarding people? Is it going to have, like, is the spring update going to have any of that stuff?
It will have some of it. So we don't plan to have a mini map. We plan to have a
map.
a zone map.
Yeah, a zone map. Yeah. I don't mind having a compass, but as long as you have a map that I can see my character, like, or my dot in, and no points of interest, that'd be great. That was like, because I kept hitting M, like, instinctively, like wanting to see the map, and I can't see it.
For sure. Yeah, no, I feel that big time. And the Patui stuff, I don't know what it stands for, but I know what it means.
Yes, first time user experience.
Yeah. That will definitely be improved in spring, and then it'll be something that, so we have a major spring update, we have a major summer update, and then we have more major updates coming. We haven't put out the roadmap yet, so I'm not going to like speak to it too much, but we have,
that's cool,
these handful of major updates coming this year. The spring one's the first one. This is going to bring player mail, the auction house. It's going to bring the mastery system, which is it's really, really cool. I'm very excited about it. It is this like fusion between the alternate advancement system that EverQuest had and something similar to the WoW talent system. And it's this really cool fusion of the two. And it's designed to kind of give you a ton of expression with your class. It's introducing essentially kind of your warrior, for example, will be able to be a tank or a DPS or a hybrid of the two, whereas your paladin would be a tank and then a healer as its alternate kind of secondary branch. Every class will have two very distinct roles and very distinct expressions of how they fill that role. So it's a huge step forward for kind of our character progression. There's going to be tons of there's going to be a lot of UI improvements, a lot of, the classes even just in and of themselves being developed further. And there's going to be a really strong step forward towards that first player experience and a lot of the verisimilitude and kind of the lived in feel of the world is going to be big. We're going to be updating like our quest system more fully in the summer.
Okay.
And that will also come with, you know, some updated kind of like reward paradigms where we don't want players like leveling predominantly on just like quest grinding and quest progression hub grinding, but we do want quests when you do them to feel significant, like in terms of like an experience reward, itemization reward. There's a lot of itemization changes coming. There's a lot of like visual updates coming. It's huge. I mean, it's a massive update. It's going to be the first time the game is going to really feel like it's in its true 1.0 shape. And then it's about just from there, just kind of building out and turning out the content and continuing to kind of dial in that kind of balance between don't want to handhold, we want to orient. We don't want to handhold, but we want to like give players a sense of what they're doing, where they are, who they are. And that'll continue throughout. So like a great example is I don't think you need a quest, for example, to go I'm thinking of a lot of WoW quests where you go to the next town, get a bunch of quests. Some of the quests are for the dungeon that you need to do. You go and you do the dungeon, you come back and turn the quest. What I'm more interested in is like when you hear about, and maybe there's a quest or something that kind of sends you towards that direction, but when you're there, you have things that are dropping that start quests. You have things you can interact with in the dungeon that like kind of, all of a sudden blow open like the idea of what this place is. And it's not just through this big wall of text, but it's like, through these dynamic moments and events where you're just able to interact with your environment. And I think I'm excited about our game.
Well, I mean, I think from what people have told me, I mean, there's been significant improvements since the start of early access. And from what you're describing this year, it seems like you have some pretty big plans for the continued evolution and, forging forward to the 1.0 launch. And are we still like are we a year away from 1.0? Are we still years potentially away from 1.0? And believe me, I hate when developers give dates. I do. Like, I wish Steven would never give freaking dates because, sometimes stuff happens. Stuff needs to be reiterated. Sometimes the system doesn't work out. Sometimes you need to go back in and finagle and make sure that stuff is up to the snuff and polish and to the degree that the developers want, like the quality terms. But, like I said, Pantheon has been in development for almost 12 years at this point. So like, are we close to 1.0 or are we still like towards the horizon kind of thing?
I mean, the reality is that I don't even want to say anything about that.
Okay.
And the reason is because like I've tended to be very loose-lipped in the past because I enjoy talking to people about, what we're at, what we're doing. We are trying to be very careful about setting expectations.
Good.
And so I can't even say anything about it. I wish I could. Hopefully we will be able to say something more definitive reasonably soon. But the only thing that I have said that I feel comfortable saying is we do have an internal date. So it's not like we just have no idea. We do have an internal goal. And I would say that it is not as far off as people might think that it is.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that I
will say.
Feel comfortable saying.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because from just what you described to me, it seems like there's going to be basically quarterly updates. Like we're going to have a big update in spring, big update in summer, probably a big update in fall, which is great. You know what I mean? Like I can't wait to what the game looks like. Heck, by October or November this year, I think that'll be awesome. Then I can probably play the monk again and see how that is, but when it comes to Pantheon, is it just going to be a box cost? Is it subscription? Like what's the 1.0, like whenever it does launch, like how much is it going to cost to play?
We are leaning towards a prescription. We're leaning towards a subscription model. We haven't set a price for that yet.
Okay.
But that's where we're leaning. It's not 100%.
Okay.
That is, I would say,
box cost too, like box cost plus the subscription, or just a subscription?
Yeah. Box cost plus subscription. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't mind that model. Like I actually think that's a pretty standard model. And are y'all going to be doing like expansions free, or you're going to pay for the expansions too? I know it's probably like a very, very future question, but
yeah. I mean, the way that we've kind of batted it around internally when we've discussed it is that it's possible that major expansions would be like paid expansions, but there will likely be, and this is subject to change. I mean, I probably should like predicate all these things with
huge caveat, guys. Huge caveat.
Yeah, huge caveat. But they're smaller form updates, smaller form little expansions to things are things that we might roll out just as part of the development cycle post launch. But for sure, major expansions would be paid. Yeah.
Okay. And then of course, like no pay to win, no pay to convenience.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no pay to win.
Okay.
Absolutely not. It's possible that we might have certain a certain like I don't know what our plans are for anything like a store, like an adjacent store to the game with things like cosmetics. We want to be really, really careful with that. I mean, being as an old school game, like spirited game, we want to protect like the value and the identity of items within the game, but we're not necessarily opposed to having things like cosmetics and various things, especially because we do plan to have a housing system, we do plan to have boats, and these things are being very customizable. But yeah, we just haven't put a ton of like really solid information about that out yet. But what I can say for sure, because it will be, as long as I'm here and as long as I've only said this about one other thing, we will never ever ever have flying mounts in Pantheon, because I think it is ultimately the death knell of exploration. We will have gliding and gliders. We will have we have our climbing system. We have a lot of travel systems and things like that. But we're never gonna have flying mounts. We'll have underwater mounts. We'll have land mounts, but not flying. And the only other thing I'm gonna say is we will never have pay to win mechanics in this game. Never ever.
Sweet. And again, I really appreciate that, because I think flying is like, once you'll never go back. Like and we learned that in BC. You know what I mean? I'm actually playing the Burning Crusade right now. But yeah, it's just one of those things that as soon as you add that, it just invalidates the entire world at that point. Flying is extremely powerful, but gliding I love. Like I think limited flying, or like the capacity not to just hover, float, and go over things is just too OP. But if you have like a limited glider that is slow, or you can just like bypass for a period of time, and then you have to like use another glider, and it's like an economy cost and like an item sink, that's totally fine. I think that's pretty good. So that's really awesome that you're doing that. Joppa, dude, that's really all the questions I got. I mean, this was not your probably typical super nerdy system driven interview, but from someone who hasn't really followed the project, I really appreciate your insightfulness into the project and just being open to discuss just MMOs with me and just like the project, so it's been really awesome, because like I've been trying to learn a lot ever since Ash's downfall. I've been trying to learn a lot about all the current projects that are out in development right now, and there's so many of them. And Pantheon being there, and I just wanted to learn more about it, and I am excited about it. Like I said, a lot of the Ashes content creators have played Pantheon. My buddy Roar plays it. We're gonna get Richie to play it. We're all gonna play it together. I thought it was gonna be pretty fun. We're gonna do that for the spring update, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Because what's been really cool. What happened with Ashes? I mean, I have some friends that worked at Intrepid, and there's the whole personal aspect of it.
Oh yeah,
I understand to a degree what so many are going through, because I mean, you put tons of time into following a game, playing the game, you support it, you defend it, you kind of have this like, there's so many people in the Pantheon community that are at the same level of like, they are invested in seeing this game come to fruition. And so to see you guys go through that, and then to be able to watch this very earnest search of like, you really want to find a game to play. You really want to find a load-bearing game that you can put your time into, that you can invest yourself into. And I mean, I have just a lot of respect and a lot of like empathy for that search, because it's a big friggin' deal. Like these games mean a lot to us. And so, yeah, I appreciate your honesty and your candor and like your genuine, you know, not, I mean, it's a great interview when you can talk very, very really, very honestly about these things I like, these things I don't like, you know, this is a little bit, you know, kind of like, how are you guys going to navigate this? And a lot of people don't find this particular thing very popular or that. So it's been really cool to see that. I love these conversations. And man, like just know I'll be watching, you know, as you play and as you guys have these experiences because they're good for me too. I mean, I like hearing these perspectives that aren't like immediately just all in, you know,
Right.
with kind of the old school spirit pursuit. So I love it.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
been great.
I appreciate the fact that you stream and the fact that you stream like pretty regularly every week. People can find you, ask you questions. I think that's really important for just overall availability and just like, especially right now, like just to ask questions about the game and just to see like where the current statuses are. Like, hey, do y'all have this in your game? Because I feel like right now the climate in the genre right now is horrible. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people are, and it's not just an Ash's thing. It's just like I've just seen in general, like people feel like vagabonds just roaming the desert wanting water really bad. And it's just terrible. Like it's not a good, you know, because I think a lot of the mainstay MMOs, they know they're out there, but they don't want them. They want something else, something new, something fresh. And you know, it's just we've all been waiting for that thing to release, right? And I know with you guys, like you can't just prematurely release, you know, like at that sense, because y'all put so much work and time into this development cycle, like polish, refinement, content needs to be there, you know, it's go time, you know, not just for you guys, but for any developer currently making an MMO, it's go time, because right now there is a very hungry audience and, you know, they want a home. So
Yeah.
Joppa,
Yeah.
thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
You too, man. You too, my friend. Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it. Take care.
All right. You too, brother. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Wow. Well, guys. Hi. Welcome. Dude, this was a really, really, really awesome interview. I again want to give a shout out to Joppa. Thank you all so much for being awesome in the chat. Really do appreciate it. I want to go into Pantheon right now. Just give me a second. I'm loading up Steam. Sorry, we had issues earlier. Like I had stuff that I couldn't do on Twitch and then he couldn't do stuff on Discord. So it was just like, oh God, of course, like all this stuff was going on like simultaneously basically. But yeah, like I've had so many people, you know, reach out to me and, you know, be like, Vlad, you know, like what MMO are you playing? Like what's out there? What's this? Or like, hey, Vlad, I saw you playing this game and I gave it a try. It's like, I like it. I don't like it. I'm still looking, you know, what do you think? You know, we're all kind of in this, this cycle of just trying to find like the thing, and that thing is going to be different for all of us. You know, there's going to be, certain games that I'll play. Like one of the comments on my, Project Gorgon, said, Vlad, I saw you had a really horrible time Project Gorgon, gave it a shot, and I really love the game. You know, it's like, hey, like just because I don't like it doesn't mean that you might like it. You know what I mean? This is why I'm playing all these different MMOs, to give people to try to give like my viewers and the people that watch me to see, like, if you're leery of spending any money or leery of spending any time in a certain game because maybe you don't know it too well, maybe you're just worried about certain systems, or, you know, maybe you think the look of it looks terrible, and then you just see me play it for a little bit and you're like, oh, it doesn't look that bad, and oh, that looks actually kind of fun, or oh, you know, that looks really interesting, or whatever. Like I think now it's just we are in a desert. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. We are in a desert. You're playing PC Classic. Ew. What's up, buddy? What's up, man? Yes, I am. I'm playing the Burning Crusade Classic because I don't know. I'm playing it as a time waster game. I'm not even playing it for like enjoyment, really. I'm just doing it to just waste time. Because honestly, I want to play, you know, the other games like Pantheon or Quinfall or Arcade Classic when you guys are, you know, when you're watching me, so that way like you can see like the progression of the game and stuff like that. I'm really glad that you and Roar Richie are jumping in for the spring update. I just wish the Bard would be in Roar, because I know he played one EQ. Oh, nice. Well, like I said, we'll probably play some of the more other updates too. The main Stark, thank you so much for the follow, brother. Thank you. Sprint Daddy's building has Clown and Quinfall. Oh, really? Nice. What did you do with the tier list? What you tried so far? So I did not do the tier list because I'm actually I'm on the end of being sick, but I will do a tier list. It's just, I was sick as a dog yesterday. If you watched me stream yesterday, you knew like how it was. I was not in the best state. I still have a bunch of, tissues over here. I got my tissue box. I even told Joppa before we started the call, that I just let you know I'm not feeling the best right now, but I'm going to try my best to make it through the interview. So, I thought I did it pretty good. I didn't really sneeze too much. Thank God I didn't cough. So they did okay. Well, no thanks. They are doing both box cost and sub. Pick one and go with it. Scope creep will kill it. Look at Scars of Honor. They have a set scope. Any suggestions go into future expansions. Well, and I think that's probably the feedback they're looking for. Again, you got to understand, a lot of the stuff he said wasn't like final. He was very hesitant to even say that they were going to maybe do a subscription model. They could go free to play. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends. And if they do go free to play, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a cosmetic cash shop. You know what I mean? They might even have some pay to convenience. Like, I'm not against pay to convenience. I just don't like pay to convenience. But if it's there, it's whatever. Like, I don't care. But what did he tell me to make? A Dire Lord. Sir Vlad. And then I don't even know what a Dire Lord is. Does it even... Oh. The Dire Lord is considered a myth by most. In the oral tradition of the Terminus history, there are legends that speak of Dire Lords capable of mastering the crippling power of fear, with some able to manipulate the very essence of their enemies. Interesting. But what is it? Like, what is it, like an intellect class? Is it a strength class? Like, can anyone let me know in chat? I have a level 29 wizard in Pantheon, 14 necro, and a few other alts. While I enjoy the old school mobile combat, with some rotational improvements, Pantheon needs to make the combat feel more impactful. Yeah, I think honestly, like, a lot of tab target MMOs have a hard time with the feeling of impactfulness of abilities. And I think a great example of impactfulness in a tap target game is fucking Arcade Classic. Like, that had impact. Ashes of Creation had impact. That's for sure. Dire Lord is a tank. Oh, okay. This increases armor class. So maybe stamina and constitution? Mix of tank or warrior and necro. Warrior with blood spells. Interesting. I'll try it out. So on the website, if you pay direct, it's like $70+ If you buy it on Steam, it's $40. Are there any perks for websites direct purchase of Pantheon? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It should say on Steam what you get for buying with it, or on the website, but I don't know specifically. After playing AOC in its current combat form, it's so hard to play anything else. It was just so fluid in the rotations and interactions between skills and abilities, or skills and weapons. Yeah, like I said, I feel you on that one, to be honest with you, because again, this is why, like, I'm looking at like Scars of Honor and I'm seeing like how their combat is, and combat is a very important factor to MMO gameplay. If your combat sucks, or if your combat is not fluid, if it doesn't have that punchiness to it, if it doesn't feel that weight to it, that's already a mid factor as a gamer. Okay, your combat's okay, right? So you're already at this hovering point of being like this. That means anything that happens in the game that's negative, you're just going to feel like, fuck, whatever. I don't care about the game anymore. Like, and that's how gamers are. Like, I'm just being very real. Like, that's why it's so important to have like really fun and engaging systems that people can do right at level 1. And if you can't have those engaging systems presented very early, then you need your combat to speak for itself, right? Like that's the thing. Like your combat really needs to do good. Let me see. Have you tried Winds of Valen? I have not. I have not tried that. Right click to interact. Is it broken? You have like an hour to hook someone or they're quitting. Even the hour is a lot. Yeah, no, as I'm saying, honestly, I know within 15 minutes. I don't even need an hour. I'll know within 15 minutes if a game's going to be for me or not. Like I knew Project Gorgon was not for me. Like I knew that. Acknowledged. Okay. Blood and Power, Dire Lord. Ah, here we go. You're newly bound and the hunger has awoken. That means you'll either act to satisfy it without thinking, or you'll demonstrate some degree of restraint. This place exists because most of you never learned that distinction. The hunger word, is it? What is this place? Understood. Okay. All right, so those are the skills. Don't have enough money. Okay. So this is like the deacon. Must have felt it. Yes, I just started playing WoW after Ash's Fall. I'm new to WoW and I'm loving it. Like I said, I played WoW for 20 years. Oh, I'm curious, what version of WoW are you playing? Are you playing retail? Like, are you getting into Midnight or are you playing like classic WoW? Just curiously. Blood and Power. Silence the Howlers. Okay, finally got a quest. What? Oh, here's the abilities. J? Oh, TBC Classic? Yep, that's what I'm playing too. I think I'll have a fun time. I mean, TBC was pretty good. J. Here we go. Kill 3 Dark Howler pups. I was looking for the quest log, but what's the for spells? Like how do you get your spells after you learn them? B? Okay. Touch of Blood. Wavy Gravy, do you thank you so much for the follow, brother. Thank you, man. Hope you're enjoying the stream. There we go. So what does this ability do? Afflict an enemy's mind with relentless apparitions. Corrupts enemy's blood with Fury Curse. Causes the blood to boil and burst, dealing minor fire damage over time. Okay. Read the mysterious letter in inventory. Okay. Dark Howler pups. Is it ranged? Yes, it is. Also read the mystery. Oh yeah, I did that. Is that like another quest? Jay? You do not know me, but I have an opportunity for you. Find me near the well in the center of the village of Avlania, and I will explain more. Okay. Apparently that's a great challenge to me. What does this ability do? Oh my god, it's a 30-minute cooldown? Wow. Oh, so do I need to keep... That's your oh crap button? Okay. Yeah, the one thing I will say about this is that the enemies and your player character feel like very stilted. You know what I mean? Like it feels very I mean, honestly, it kind of feels like WoW. Like if you're playing classic WoW, it feels basically the same. Like you're hitting a boar out in WoW. It's the same kind of impact and the same thing. Oh, look. Probably gonna die. Ah! Alright, you are near to release your soul. Okay, I just spawned back in the beginning. Oh, that's like the lay of hands alternate for DL. Okay. So basically you want to use that ability whenever you're like low the way I was basically. I was just curious what that ability was because I was like, I didn't realize it was gonna be a 30-minute ability. Use Alta 1 ability instead of Corrupting Blood as your combat spammer. Wait a minute. I use that? Interesting. So you use this instead of auto attack? Who hits A like Alt 1? It's kind of crazy. As well as auto attack? Do you sit down to rest? Okay. Oh, rebind it to a usable keybind. See, I wish I can just, I can probably use this a tilde key. 1 second. Input. Unbind back quote key mapping from auto attack? What? Okay. How's the game so far? I mean, Pantheon is a very old school, like, natured game. Like, if you're thinking of, like, oh, is that what I need to do? Okay. I wonder why that's, like, a different ability like that. It's just interesting. Well, I killed 3 of them. Okay, so now I'm good on that end. So, oh yeah, I hit M and okay, so now I basically just gotta find where home is. Wee woo, thank you so much for the follow. Just Butler, thank you so much for the follow as well. Thank you. Hope you're enjoying the stream. I can only imagine how much it helps to watch others play this to take notes on where potential hangups might be. Oh, yeah. Well, and again, without a map, a person's just going to run around aimlessly. Like they're not going to know like where to go. Like, was there any indication to head in a certain direction, like north, east, south, west? Because I feel like you can just incorporate that into the quest. It just find me in the well in the center of the village, but it doesn't say like head north or head west. You know, it's like there's something down there. The map thing really isn't that bad. It's like you have to level the map up. What map? I was looking for Pantheon, but I don't know if it's my cup of tea right now. I'm just playing WoW and Gwynfall for my MMO fix. This project reminds me of Project Gorgon, kinda. Yeah, I mean it's like a very much more polished version of Project Gorgon. But yeah, I don't. No, I mean there isn't a map. No, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, I'm hitting M, but that's by instinct. Sholazam has a map you can reference. It's similar to EverQuest. You just have to learn points of interest and roam till you learn where to go. Yeah, no, I get that. It's just so they said there was climbing in here. I think Spring Up needs to be good or Pantheon is cooked. Well, I think it's if the spring update, I don't think is indicative of the game being cooked or not. I think if there isn't enough at the launch, because I feel like there's a lot of people that aren't really paying attention to a lot of games when it's in development. People start paying attention when shit's about to launch. You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's why I was kind of worried and still am about Gwynfall, because Gwynfall launched literally in 1.0 and the most it got was 5,000 people playing it. Like, let's look at this real fast. Steam charts. Gwynfall. Look at this now. This is the NES's post-launch now. It had a 5,000 almost. Now it has 3,800. The only way this game can keep going is with some kind of an update that can revitalize. Because even for $10 box cost, that this is not enough to sustain a company. It just isn't. For an indie MMO, 5K is not too bad. I mean, it's not too bad, but it's not good. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. I don't think I need to go that high. The books don't care about indie or not. No, yeah, that's what I mean. The finances doesn't give a crap if you're AAA or if you're indie. Like, you need to make money. You know, and that's the thing. Like, Gwynfall, I think, is in a very dangerous situation. Okay, is that where I need to go? Do I need to head down there? So, see, this is the thing. Like, like most of the time, like as a gamer, especially when you're starting out, not knowing where to go and just trying to like figure out the map and figure out like points of interest, and like a lot of current players aren't going to do that. The question is, are people like our old school people going to be willing to do this? Maybe. You know, maybe not. Like, I don't know. Like, it's a question. That's what I was asking Joppa, you know what I mean? Like, because that is the $1 million question. Because if it's not, that's kind of scary. And it just sucks because that basically would mean the things that made old school games like interesting and cool can't be done anymore. If that's the case. That discovering the world is the most fun in an MMO. To some people, I think to others, combat, you know, is the most important thing. To others, good dungeons design and raids is the most important thing. Like I think that's why the MMO genre is so diverse, because like, it's like Joppa was saying in the interview, like, what are you like what are you trying to get out of an MMO? You know what I'm saying? And I think especially for back in the early 2000s, rough experiences was some of its charm. But I think there's an expectation in 2026 when it comes to MMOs, especially MMO design, that as soon as that expectation is not met, like, there's no reason for me to continue the game. You know what I'm saying? Let me see the village quest you're on is just trade skills to level and progress. You're basically mom grinding at first. Not really a lot of quest or direction yet. I pledged years ago, but you can add this game to your Steam library, and do you have to non-use launcher? Okay, so, but I'm trying to turn in these quests. Oh, not those. Like, I'm trying to find this village. Is this the village? Shadowy Thug is prepared to... Oh, crap. Ah! And that's a bad guy. Okay. Well, it's just gonna... Did I die so hard that I went back to life for him to kill me again? The first quest you did turns in back at the Dialer starting area. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna head back there right now. Okay. Do I turn it back into this person? Okay, the nearby cultist homes the initiates nervous now. They whisper his name as they slice their palms, insisting the innkeeper will hear them. Open one of them, bring me what spoils out if transforms begun, it will show. Okay. So I have 75 copper. Is that enough to buy another ability? Just curiously. Already known, already known. Okay, so I got to be level 4 to get this one. A sanguinated shield. Okay, I don't have enough money for that one. Okay, so basically now I just got to grind at this point. All right. Level 2 skills. Yeah, I need money though. I need money. All right, so maybe I should just try to kill these monsters. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I have like no mana. Sit. So this requires essence and not mana. Okay, so I guess I technically don't need mana? Oh wow, I got both of them. Hmm. Well, it's safe to say I'm terrible at this game. Absolutely terrible. Your uses the readiness, the white square under your health. Other abilities use essence, which builds and you have to, when you deal and take damage. Okay. Yeah, because I wasn't using this at all before, but now I am using it, and I am using these two abilities. Do you give me anything? Guess not. But I feel like wait, how do I look at my player character? Is it C? Hi. Um okay. Just sit real fast, get some mana. I'm just thinking. I feel like maybe I'm not using my abilities correctly. So I can only cast that once. Okay. So that's, I'm using that correctly. Corrupt cinnamon, blood, generates threat. Alright, so I'm using this one, I believe, correctly too. It doesn't say for how long. It just says that it does minor fire damage over time. But it doesn't give me a duration. Oh, look, that's the plant. Hit I. Oh, I need the tool. Great. Okay. Until you get like that level 4, you'll be a bit mindful of how much health you have. Okay. So that's at 4 stacks. This doesn't give me a duration. I wish it would tell me like Like how, like when I need to refresh it. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't tell me anything. So I'm just there kind of looking at it, making sure I need to refresh it when it comes off. You can see the dot on the bob when fighting and reapply the dot when it fades. It flashes, it's about to drop. Okay. See how it's pulsating? That's when it's ready to fade off. Okay. I'll have to look for that next time. Can you hold shift or alt or something like that to get an advanced tooltip? I don't know. Alt. Nope. I don't think there is an advanced tooltip. Oh god, I pulled two of them again? Can I sprint? Oh god. That was insanely ghost. Yeah, this is Pantheon. Okay. So I am almost level 3, correct? Where can you see what level you are? Okay. So I'm level 2. So I need to basically grind until level 4 to get life tap. All the skills are a bit ambiguous in the wording. I hope it updates in the spring with more info, but it probably won't to 1.0 launch due to them iterating all so much. Okay. Trying it out on the web-based map for see how far I can get. Well, let me know how far you get. All right, I see it blinking now. All right, level 3. All right, so I need one more level. Your attributes have increased. Yeah, I hope it part of the fun is exploring the game and not being told everything. Curious how long that loss time it takes notes. Yeah, and again, I feel like that was like a very old school like thing, right? I mean, dude, I remember having a notepad next to my desk with all the Warcraft shit that I put down on it. And I just feel like, of course, like people don't like do that anymore because I think they just expect more out of an MMO. But it seems like there's certain players that want less, like less direction, less hand holding, less, yeah, but it's 2026, not 1999. No, exactly. I think this is where the conflict of ideology in what people want from an MMO, and to me, I feel like I want something that looks new, plays like a modern game, but has certain feels of old schoolness. But I don't want it to be like I'm not a fan of XP loss. I'm not a fan of XP debt. I think death is its own punishment personally, but that's just me. You know what I mean? I understand the whole weight of like making dying matter. I get that argument, but coming from Ash's creation, I felt like Ash's was beyond punishing when it came to dying. Losing like 25% of your materials, you only got a portion of them back, and then the XP debt that stacked up crazily, especially if you were like level 20 something. So, just kind of crazy. We're all dads now, no time for that shit. Give me the info. That's what I mean, right? Like I think it would be something if 19-year-olds or the youngins were playing games like this, but it's the same people that played EverQuest are going to try Pantheon again. So it's like reliving that experience, because this is the same thing what happened with World of Warcraft. The old WoW people that played back in 2004, 2005 are not trying to play the way they did back in 2004, 2005. They're trying to play classic World of Warcraft with a modern WoW mentality. Does that make sense? Because I can guarantee you every single one of those WoW players are playing with add-ons, damage meters, questy, all that shit. They're not going to not download it to make the experience like authentic. They don't give a shit about the authenticity. They give a shit about just playing the mechanics. Oh God, are you being for real? Again? I didn't think they were that close together. You can play without using all the help, but people want others to suffer as well so they can feel some sort of superiority. Well, that was my thing with it too. Like, which I never understood. They want the game to be hard for everyone so they can feel like, well, you experienced the same way I did. But who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. Time to see if those guards are doing their job. Yeah, no, they are. They're helping my ass out a lot. No, they're making changes to Classic Anniversary. It is far from the authentic 2004 experience. It was, but it still feels authentic. Does it make sense? No, yeah, no, it does. And again, this is where the whole caveat is with the modern game with old school approach, because that variance and what people take from that is as much of a variance as when you say early access on Steam. Everybody has a different interpretation as to what early access means for a game. And believe me, we figured all this out during Ashes of Creation. And so when people say like, oh, like what does a modern game with old school principles mean to you? You're going to get one answer, 8 answers, 106 answers, 10,462 answers. Like you're constantly going to get different people's opinions as to what old school principles should be in there comparatively to others, and what modern things you should take from certain modern MMOs that can be put in that same game. Like it's such a huge dynamic. You're never going to get a consistent answer with that. And this is why I think games like Pantheon and games that have old school approaches are going to feel a little bit more niche. They're going to feel a little bit more like inaccessible to a greater majority. Everyone's just upset and they're old and bored. Well, my thing is that I want MMOs to be like some sort of because here's the thing, dude, like the people that say like, oh, it's niche, but let's be realistic. Like an MMO with 300 players, that's completely unsustainable. Like no one's going to want to play an MMO with 300 players. And I know this because Mortal Online 2, which is an MMO right now, has that many players currently. They have anywhere between three to 400 players. And Mortal Online could have like amazing systems, but are you going to care? No, because there's no community playing it. And that's the thing. Like, that's literally the problem. When you have these games with super low communities, and it's verifiable that you can see like, oh wow, there's only like less than 1,000 people here, it's going to make you hesitant to join that game, because MMOs are a group-based activity at the end of the day. And if you're not going to be able to find players, if you're not going to be able to get shit done, it's like, then why am I going to put all this effort to grind and level my character and to, you know, do certain things when it's just going to be that much harder for me to do? Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Pantheon wants to be 100,000 players MMO. I think they need to put some quality of life to entice the masses. Well, and again, this was the same thing that I was always curious for Ashes, because, you know, the whole, it's nice to say the whole like, oh, this game isn't for everybody. But what is for everybody is money. You know, to say that money isn't for everybody is a ridiculous statement, in my opinion. And if you have a company, your board, your financiers, the people that are employed are going to hope that you're making money for them to stay employed and for the company to thrive. And it's really interesting how quick certain companies pivot off of certain ideals or, you know, principles that, you know, as soon as they shift, you know, then they start to conform to the model that is everything. Think of like currently when you look at like fast food places, you remember when back in the 90s when fast food places actually had personality and colors and just the building shapes were different, like everything was just really unique looking. You look at like Taco Bell in the 90s, you look at Burger King in the 90s, look at McDonald's, like, and now they're all just a bunch of square buildings with very dull colors because that's just what it is. And the same thing is trying to happen to the MMO genre. Is that the MMO genre, there's a lot of these titans that are these very conglomerate, gray box, simplistic fucking designs. And any company that ever tries to stray out from there, it's almost like too foreign for them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's just a very hard balance to walk. It is. Because honestly, for as much as, you know, Ashes of Creation and how I supported them and everything like that, the fact that we only got 30,000 people for early access on Steam, knowing they had over 300,000 players follow and you know, follow the project on Steam, and only like 30,000 of them were willing to like give money to play. That didn't look good for Ashes either. You know what I'm saying? But I also know that 1.0 launches mean way more. Oh, look, there's an actual like mineable thing. Too bad I can't freaking do it. See, I don't know. Tons of people want to play this game and MMO players are hungry. Why aren't they eating on Pantheon? I'm not hating. I want this game to succeed. In fact, I bought it and I'm playing it right now and providing feedback. Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. Like, and again, this is the whole thing of like, I don't even know what's Pantheon. So like Pantheon's been on early access for a while. Steam charts. Pantheon. Oof. Yeah. So for a while, it's just been on the decline. And again, you know, I know we talked about like Baldur's Gate 3. And again, when it comes to early access, Baldur's Gate 3 had about 1,000 to 2,000 players when it came to early access. And then of course it exploded on launch. But I think Baldur's Gate 3 was definitely an outlier among games in that regard. And I think especially when it comes to MMOs, Could Pantheon pull it off? Maybe. I mean, it's hard right now for the genre in general to pull anything off. So it's like, who knows, like what game is actually going to do it? Like that's the $1 million question right there. Pantheon and old school MMOs are a different breed. You make your own adventures. Modern gamers don't know how to adapt. No, that's true. It's hard for me because I feel like I am a modern gamer. You're watching a modern gamer right now play Pantheon and is very confused. And I'm trying to enjoy an experience that is very foreign to me. But when things are too foreign, the only players that are going to feel at home are the old school gamers that played EverQuest, that played those things. And is that enough of a base for you to cater to? You know what I'm saying? Like that's the $1 million question here. Oh, you're trying to trade me gold. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Let's wait, is it right click? Okay. So let me, I think I still need to be level 4. So I don't even think that matters. Because I need to be level 4 to even get life tap anyway. I'm seeing a lot of people excited to play M&M, but for me, I can't play early access games. That's a sub base. I like Pantheon of how they went about one-time purchase with feature to come to store it for extra revenue. Yeah, and like I said, he was still a little leery if they were going to have a subscription model. Like I know people were like, I hope they don't do that. But I think subscription models, I mean, I play World of Warcraft, right? So it's like, I don't know how an indie company can sustain, especially in an MMO, without some kind of subscription model. Like, that's why even with Quinfall, like, you pay $10 and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like, with Amazon Game Studios, with New World, you paid $40. I understood it because Amazon Game Studios, well, they're backed by Amazon. Amazon's like a multi-trillion-dollar company at this point. Or like a mostly multi-billion-dollar company, but still, like, it's... I think AGS was a loss leader for too long, and that's probably why Amazon was just like, let's just get out of this division of gaming. Like, we need to go into AI or go into something else that can be profitable, because I think AGS just wasn't making money. They were just literally sucking money out of Amazon. Old school MMOs, you just pick up Direction, Run, Scotia, Explore. Joppa said he likes sub-base. Yeah, I mean, I think, again, when it comes to sub-based models, like, it's definitely money that you can get, like, monthly. Like, it's that monthly income you're going to get. But I also feel like cosmetics, you know, I don't poo-poo cosmetics, man, because especially when indie companies, they need to make money. Like, I think, here we go, level 4. I think it's a matter of, you know, getting and recouping your money as fast as possible to make sure that your company is profitable and getting out of the red as soon as possible to make content. Because a lot of companies, when they're not making their money back fast enough, all they're doing is they're sacrificing and cutting content, cutting people, you know, just cutting in general. And that always sucks. And you see the ramifications, because it's like, man, if we can just do one more big update, we can probably turn it around. I mean, again, look at New World. Their latest update brought in a lot of players back into the game just for them to shut the game down a month later. Like, how unfortunate is that? But that is the reality. Like, it's nice to say these speeches, and it's nice to say, you know, these coins of phrase, like even that Steven would say, like, oh, this game is for everybody, you know, da da da. Well, it's nice to say all that stuff, but when rubber meets the road, like, you gotta... Like, you gotta make money. Like, that's just the end all be all. Like, if you're an indie company, if you're a AA company, and you don't have any products and the only product that you're currently developing is an MMO, like you need to make money. Like that's just what it is. The phrase "this game is just self-defeating." Well, it's almost like this this kind of fantasy with it. You know what I mean? Of yeah, my game isn't for everybody, so it's like I don't mind that we only have 1,000 people playing. Well, you may not mind, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, can 1,000 people sustain an entire AA company of like 100 people? Probably not. You know. And again, you know, you have all these other practices of like, we're not going to do pay to win. We're not going to do pay to convenience. You know, cosmetics can be very lucrative. No joke. Very lucrative. But if your pool of people that are buying those cosmetics are super small, and it also depends on the quality of your cosmetics. I mean, again, look at New World. Their cosmetics were trash. Like, wow. Like I saw some of those cosmetics and who would pay money for those? Like seriously. Like who would pay money? What is it? B? Okay. All right, so Haunted Slash. And Sanguinated Shield. That. Am I actually going to start doing shit now? Wow, look at that. All right, so now I have none. So 200 corrupt the target's blood and draw it out, dealing curse damage and restoring your health by 80% of the damage dealt. Ah. So what does this ability do? So it's just another... Like, what's a better ability to hit? So... I asked us about how they plan to generate revenue outside of copies sold. They need to expand the team, and they can easily, if they can get more revenue. Exactly. But I think that goes potentially with betraying certain principle designs. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was asking Joppa is like, can we really have an MMO like this? And I think the jury's still out. Like, you know, Project Gorgon, I don't believe is at a 1.0 launch. Is it? Or is it still early access for Project Gorgon? Like, and a lot of these developers, like you have Dreadmist, which I want to play this week too. And that's like a solo developer that made that entire game, like using like free assets and shit. So Project Gorgon's 1.0. And, you know, let me see Steam charts. And, you know, hey, this is better. But again, you know, 1.0 launch and your average was this. Your average is now this. I mean, and again, like I look at these numbers and I'm just like, the fact that we don't have like tens of thousands of people playing, like, is a little worrying, you know? That's really good for them, to be honest. And again, I don't know their financial situation. I don't know how many people are developing this game. But again, it's like, to me, it's like, I don't know. Look at the history through the last long time, not many players. That's what I mean. Like, but, you know, it's been in development for a long time, like for sure. But I don't know. Like I look at this and I'm like, man, if I was developing a game from 2018 to 2026 and this is what I was at, I don't know if I'd be like excited about this personally. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I don't know what their projections are. I mean, to me, it's like you'd want at least a couple of like tens of thousands of players to be playing your game, right? But when something is so niche and something that is very old school in nature, like, can it thrive? And I haven't seen the thriving. You know, I've seen almost like either on maintenance or like almost out the door. Like it could be shutting down soon, or it could just be on its way out, and that's just not a good look. You say we're moving into a niche MMO generation instead of the massively popular MMOs, NMOs, if you will. No one can escape the MMO curse and appeal to the masses. But I feel like in order to have a successful company, you can't just trickle in cash. You know what I'm saying? Unless certain companies are making huge caveats financially, or is like this billionaire, or, you know, that doesn't mind wasting money, you know, on making profits, so to speak. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, and a lot of these people that are making these projects are wanting to have a return on investment. You know, that's the thing. And if you've been in development, you know, for a long time, like, you're going to want a return on your investment. Like, that's just it. And it's very easy for someone that didn't have any financial, like, if you weren't the person creating or putting up any money during that time, to say, oh, that's very good for them. Like, you don't know. You don't know if it was good for them. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know if it could be very frustrating for them, or like, what did we do wrong? Or, you know, again, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's just, it's a tough business to be in the gaming sphere, and to have the banner that our company is an MMO company is a tough fucking business. That's just the facts. That is the reality. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's fucking tough. So this class is powerful. Like, once you hit level 4, you're on a whole other wavelength. Gaming was driven by a lot of gameplay and innovation, and then tech got better, and it was driven out by our game is pretty and makes hold on one second. Game is pretty, and making pretty games costs a lot more than making a good game. I would rather have a stylized game like this than some like UE5 like amazing looking game with like bare ass systems that are like 2 inches deep and, you know, chest runs. You know what I mean? Like, there's no fucking depth to it. You can beat it, you can do everything within a week or two, and then you're just waiting for the next major update. Yeah, OSRS is thriving because they've known how to keep their community happy. And not only that, they've also learned to have their old school principles and not forsake them, and still generate a new audience. Like, the fact that they have over, like, what is it, 200,000 players or 300,000 players playing old school RuneScape is fucking nuts. And I'm talking now, 2026, 2025. Like, it's crazy how many people are playing old school RuneScape. Like, it's... One second, guys. I think my baby's crying. My daughter's still sick too, and I had to put some Vicks on her. She wasn't... It's tough for her to go to sleep because, you know, her nostrils are so small and she can't breathe. which sucks. I know how that feels. But yeah, I mean, it's a whole, it's a whole different landscape now in 2026. The whole MMO landscape is just different. And it's hard to know what's going to work, what isn't going to work. But as a lover of the genre, even the games that I don't like, the games that really aren't for me, it really does hurt to see them like almost on life support, like, or not succeeding the way I would want them to succeed. Does that make sense? And I don't know, because I don't want just this conglomerate of corporate MMOs, so to speak. Like we need our thrift stores, our unique, our uniquely owned MMO stores, so to speak. And it's a shame that it feels like, I don't know if we can have that, and again, it's like, if you're not a lover of any of the mainstay MMOs, well, you're going to be in for a rough time then. Which, I remember Josh Strive Hayes, when he was making his video on Ashes of Creation, that's basically what he said. He ended the video by saying, if you don't if you don't love the current big MMOs that have these thriving communities, then good luck to you. Basically saying you're fucked. And I just don't agree with that. Like there should be MMOs for people that aren't just the main Titan MMOs. It's like every oh, yo, from Drop Yours interview. Oh, I appreciate that, man. Hope you enjoyed it, man. Thank you for coming in. It's like every industry, there's 12 people between a farmer and a consumer, all driving prices up by doing basically nothing. Oh yeah. Well, that's too, right? It's all the corporate fluff of like, I'm important because I do this thing of telling people what to do. And it's like, but you don't actually make anything, do anything, keep anybody accountable. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I do agree with that for sure. Weekend expectations to be lowered. I think that honestly is never gonna, it's nice wishful thinking that, oh man, if only gamers expectations could be lowered. You are never going to have control over other people. And I think the expectations of gamers have sadly risen. I'm just being honest. I people expect more now than they ever have when it comes to gaming. So, it's just, I feel like that's very much a reality. Pantheon is personally my final hope for a new MMO, aside from Aeon 2. But the track record for Korean MMOs are quick crash grabs, have fun for half a year to max, and then it's over. Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, look at a lot of them right now. I mean, Thorn and Liberty, dead. Lost Ark, dead. Almost every single Korean MMO is like, that isn't a gacha game, it is dead. You see, I have hope in Pantheon. I really do. That's why I bought it, to support them. Well, yeah, and I think there's more people that need to support them and need to thank you, brother. I appreciate that. That need to support these kind of projects, but the fact is there aren't. That's what sucks. They're not. And I don't know what the genre or even these game devs can do without basically I don't know. Like the two projects that I have been having a lot of fun with currently is Quinfall and Arcade Classic. Arcade Classic, it's a private server. Arcade is never coming back. Like that's just is what it is. You know what I mean? So you can expect the world with a 30-person team. Your expectations should be things take time. Oh, you meant you can't expect the world with a 30-person team? No, of course not. Like, and this is why I think their development has taken as long as it has. Like, people don't understand how complex it is to make an MMORPG. Like, I've had very long conversations as a novice, as someone who isn't in the industry, has never worked in the industry, to educate myself on like the deeper practices and the inner workings of making an MMORPG. And it is a fuck ton of work with you need a lot of smart people to make it work, because not, you're just going to have problem after problem after problem after problem. And so I don't know, man, like it really sucks. Like, and I don't know what's happening to gaming in general, because you look at it, first person shooters, like what has the first person shooter genre done recently to make that something enticing? Like Call of Duty sucks. Like every first person shooter sucks. Like, and there's nothing in the first person genre that's like innovating or getting better, or it's the same slop that you've been given forever. And I don't know, man. It's just the only genres that I feel like have been actually thriving was like survival games, roguelike games, RPG games. But yeah, it kind of sucks. Jay Gussie, thank you so much for the follow, brother. Thank you. MC Bra FPS has been stale for 20 years, but it's FPS, so everyone plays it. Well, that's what I mean. Like, and there's some things that you don't need to reinvent the wheel with, but I mean, you look at a lot of the numbers for even first person shooters and they're down significantly compared to what they were. You know, I think extraction shooters have been, I mean, Peanut's been playing the crap out of Arc Raiders. Sorry, my nose. And believe me, I've never played Arc Raiders. I've never downloaded Arc Raiders. I've never even wanted to play Arc Raiders. And yet I've probably watched Lazy Beyond, the Burnt Peanut. Like I watch his streams because he's just so entertaining. Yeah. And again, Arc Raiders is not even an FPS, but I'm saying extraction shooters have been doing really well as of recently. Arc Raiders is the first FPS that I've enjoyed in ages. Well, I mean, yeah, and it's not a first person shooter, right? It's a third person, it's an extraction game. It's technically not a first person shooter, but all I'm saying is Arc Raiders in the genre of extraction shooters, like has been really hot right now. And there's always like these things, you have like battle royales that were really popular. You had like all these genres that I think a lot of gamers have just gone to because there's been innovation where the novelty for certain things have just worn off. I think the novelty of FPS has just kind of worn off on people. Like it's not fun. And they're looking for that new fun, that new dopamine hit that's just different. It hits different. And I think with MMOs, like the tried and true method of like the corporate WoW cloned MMO, like, well, people have already done that really well. And this is why I think these other older school MMOs or these games that, you know, are basically on life support and they're not thriving, like it just sucks. I wish they were, you know, but I don't know if they can. That's the thing. Like, that's $1 million question, is that can they thrive? And I haven't seen the data to back it up. Howdy, just killing time for midnight. I can hate what Blizzard does, but they will never leave me like other MMOs. Damn it, Steven. I've been messing with Project Gorgon in the downtime till then. Just never played OSRS. So this style is so different and harder for me without a good tutorial. Yeah, I know for sure. I mean, I've been seeing what class I'm going to play for midnight when it comes to raiding. But I've been kind of time wasting in the Burning Crusade. And oh shit, I didn't even realize I've been streaming already for over 2 hours. MMOs haven't evolved and can't really. They can. I just think that's going to be the $1 million. Whoever can figure out how to properly evolve the genre and push it forward is going to make a fuck ton of money. I'm telling you that right now. They're going to make a fuck ton of money. People are willing to jump ship and try something new, but it needs to be fun and it needs to be different and it needs to have an appeal. And I know the whole mass appeal could be a dirty word, but if you want your game to be successful, there has to be something massively appealing to it, you know? I don't know. It's tough. This genre is fucking tough. But I have hope. As coped out as that is, I do have hope. And this is why I'm in this genre. This is why I'm trying to have conversations and to, bring our community into an understanding, and together we can find things to help these companies thrive, right? That's the whole point. Basically Arcade 2 without the labor system, that's the MMO they need to make. Yeah, and that's what I've heard. I've heard so many people say that if Ashes just literally verbatim copied Arcade and just had the prettier graphics, like Ashes would have been like a multi-million-dollar success. But it's always like this thing of like, before I end, I'll say this. It's like comic book movies. Civil War in the comics was fucking brilliant. Awesome fucking comic run. Amazing ending. Awesome. But there's only so much you can do within a 2-hour window of a movie. And this is why I hate kind of like the movie format sometimes, because it's like something should be more serialized into a TV show instead of onto a movie. And then what they do is they get like an epic thing like Civil War, which I did like the movie Civil War. It was a good movie. Nothing compared to the comic though. And that's sort of my point. Is then you have these people that take the spirit of the comic book and then they want to spin it with their own thing and kind of make it their own, because I'm the writer now. Like some other writer wrote Civil War, but I'm writing the movie and I'm going to take some inspiration from it, but I'm going to do my own twist. I'm going to do my own thing. And that's what I feel like what a lot of developers do with MMOs is that instead of just doing what could be tried and true, they want to put their own spin out of like, you can either say it's vanity, you can either say it's ego, whatever the case is. But I feel like whoever humbles themselves to just do the thing that players have been asking for, because I feel like it's out there. A lot of players have asked for a very specific MMO. It's just no one's particularly made it. And until that person does, I think they will be insanely successful. But guys, thank you all so much for watching today. I really do appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me, like always. Tomorrow I will be playing, tomorrow's Wednesday, so I will try out Dreadmist. I want to try out Dreadmist tomorrow to see how that is. And again, really appreciate it. Let me see, what's your thoughts on SC? It's very playable. Have you thought about it? SC. Can you, maybe I'm just blanking. Like, what do you mean by SC? Like, what game is SC? People who don't like any of the current big mainstay MMOs really need to be aware that they, Star Citizen. Sorry. Star Citizen. Never played Star Citizen. I don't care for Star Citizen. It's not my kind of game. I don't like space games. Really, Star Citizen isn't an MMO to me. Like, I don't consider it an MMO. There's no class design. There's no combat of like, your character. And like, so if it's not like that's not an MMO to me. Like, it's like Eve. Like, I know Eve can be considered to be an MMO, but it's just not my kind of thing. Let me see, people who don't like any of the current big MMO stays really need to be aware that the game they're waiting for won't be polished for at least another decade or more, honestly. No, that's very true, Royal. I definitely agree with that. Most of which will ever be a level of polish of any big mainstay MMOs such as WoW. And it's hard to compete against that. An MMO that's been out for 20 years that has all this polish and refinement. It's hard to combat. And I feel like the only way that's going to happen is with the help of AI. I really do mean that. I think a small team in 2035 could potentially pump out a game on Unreal Engine 6 or Unity 7 that could actually be done with a small team, because AI is going to get fucking nuts, dude. People have no earthly idea how insanely good AI is going to get as a tool. It's going to get, if you think Sundance 2.0 is good, you have no idea what's coming. By 2030, by 2035, AI is going to be literally integrated in everything. Your phone, you will have probably your own virtual assistant. on your computer talking to you just the way fucking Tony Stark talks to Jarvis. It's going to happen. 100%. So, guys, again, really appreciate the conversation. Thank you all so much for coming out and hanging out. I'm going to go ahead and get off. Come tomorrow, we're going to play some Dread Mists for the very first time, see how that game is, see how it plays, and hopefully you guys can come out, hang out with me tomorrow. Until then, have a good night. I'll see you guys later. Take care.